Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Still fixing my hair, but all right. You?
Yeah, not
Good
bad.
stuff.
Although I am having a bit of a. I didn't
Yeah.
really. I was going to say cancel this conversation. I can do without it, but actually, just been so busy. So busy.
What have you been up to?
Well, because Kith and Kin's launching in a couple of months, so relaunching.
Yeah.
So I've got all of the there's just been so many people just non-stop wanting to have conversations about getting on board, which is really exciting.
It's busy.
And then I've been talking to some venues about like who's going to host, but now I'm in this difficult situation. I've got all these venues wanting to host it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, can I use you for that day? But I'll use you next time. Yeah, so I'm just feeling a bit
trying to diplomatically say, I'm not saying this one's my favourite. It's just the right one for this event, and you're the right one for the next event, and you're all great, and I love you all.
Yeah, so just right at the minute, I just want to go and just hide in a cupboard for a while.
Yeah, I'm down with that. You know how I feel about hiding in cupboards. It's definitely the way forward.
So anyway, how's your week been?
All right. So just thinking, I'm doing, because obviously hospitality at Christmas, I'm doing extra shifts at the cafe. Mm-hmm. I've just accepted an extra shift this weekend and next weekend for Dog Santa. Scott Mills mentioned Bitsy's Dog Santa on the radio. That was quite exciting.
Dog Santa?
Dog Santa.
Tell me about Dog Santa.
It's Santa for dogs.
No way.
Yes, way, but they're sold out. But
that's too cool. So sorry. So just so anybody's listening knows. So you have lots of different jobs, and I'll. But one of them.
Yeah.
But one of them is working in a cafe at the minute.
Yes, in the most wonderful cafe with the most epic bakes, and really cozy, really lovely, really cool. And because it's out the way, you don't get any horrible customers. You just get the lovely people who really want to be there and have their treats. So it's great. So anyway, she's done it previous years, but this year they are doing Dog Santa, which is Santa for dogs. You buy a ticket and your dog comes in and meets Santa, gets some treats, gets a present, and it's fully booked. Scott Mills is still trying to get a ticket. So yeah, I'm working Dog Santa so this weekend we've got Dog Santa, then a Christmas market. Next weekend it's Dog Santa and Dog Santa. So
I'm so excited.
That's going to be absolute chaos, but lovely.
I was literally just before I was talking to you, just writing a blog post, and it was about sort of the inventiveness and the adaptation of the industry.
Yeah.
And how as society changes, we constantly change. But what always just makes me feel buzzy and warm is just the inventiveness of people. I mean, someone may have done Dog Santa before, but I have never heard of it. Amazing.
To be fair, it's one of the reasons I begged her for a job. Not specifically Dog Santa, but just the innovation and the brand, and it's all sort of built around her personality. And so she's sort of, obviously the persona's Bitsy, but it's about her. So she markets it in a way that's unique to her, and people come because it's her. And it's her warmth and her epic bakes and her effort. And my job there is just to protect that and look after it when she has to do other things. And it's very exciting.
And don't you think, just from a customer point of view though as well, don't you think that those are always the best places when you can feel someone's personality?
Yeah.
And I always think that when people were talking about marketing about like your branding and stuff, that actually your brand can just be you, or can be part of you,
or a version of you, or but also that's for a lot of brands, particularly small businesses, that's what makes them unique and what makes people come back, and they feel it's authentic and they feel they're actually buying into something real. And obviously at the cafe we have a huge amount of repeat custom because it's so out the way, but when people find it, they always come back. So people have come in, I've only been there 4 weeks now, but people have come in for their first time whilst I've been there, and they've been back the next week on the same day. They keep coming back, and it's lovely. So,
See, the thing is, I've known about the cafe for ages, and I haven't been. But do you know why I haven't been?
Because there's too much choice.
There's too much sugar.
See, I was the same, basically. As I say, I was following her on our social media, which is another thing that she does really well. And as I say, it's really it's really her. I was following her on social media for years, even before she opened the cafe. She'd had the cafe open for 3 years before when she advertised this job, that I was like, right, this is it. This is the opportunity. This is what's going to get me in there. Because I knew if I went in there, I'd just be like, there's too much choice. I don't know where to start. And my brain would just shut down. But now I've sort of been introduced to it, and I've got an excuse to go there every week and try something new. And it's all amazing. And so I'm still working my way through it. But yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
Excellent. Anyway, we should probably get to actually what our real conversation
is.
So this is the podcast that we're doing together, and it's basically talking about hospitality, but through all the things that go wrong. I mean, obviously, hopefully there'll be loads of these brilliant stories in the between as well. But yeah, so you start, because I
okay. So for those who don't know you, who are you, Cassie? What do you do? And why are you here?
Okay, well, these days, my job really is, I say it's not even a job, it's sort of like what I do. It's just that I am an ambassador for the hospitality industry. But really what that means is that I've been working in hospitality for over 30 years. I've owned my own places for 25 of those years. And I could probably add on a few more years here anyway, because when my first ever job when I was 15 was working in a florist.
Yeah.
Which isn't hospitality per se, but actually all of the things that you do, it wasn't a florist. It was they just don't even exist anymore, but they were little shops that were sort of before supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
So my shop was a florist and greengrocers. And then just over the road was the bakers and delicatessens.
Yeah.
And then on the other road was the butchers. And you'd have the same customers every single week coming into all three places. And it was part of a community. And actually, when you reflect on what I think the value of and the excitement about the hospitality industry is, it's all the same stuff. So I really, although it's floristry and greengrocers, it's kind of hospitality as well. So you can add that as well as part of my experience of the. But so in that time, I've owned 6 of my own venues, and these days, basically, because I'm really tired. That's not true.
It is a bit.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit. It's not that. It's all I've got. Yeah. But I'm not an operator anymore. But actually, because partly, and this is really interesting. So I've always said to my staff when I've trained them that whatever you do, because this is the thing in hospitality, you know that some of the people you're talking to, that you're training, that you're working with, are going to be with you forever, and they're going to be in the industry forever. Hey, yeah, you've been with me forever.
Yeah.
But some people are just passing through, or they are, they're young people that are just starting. And so you sort of have this responsibility, I feel, when you're training people, that you're giving them the skills they need for the industry and for the job you're asking them to do. But I also want to be making sure that I'm having some impact on their futures and sort of helping them with how they view the world and what they're going to do next, and that you hope that they're walking away with transferable skills.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've always said to the staff is that if you are going to do anything, be the best at what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And by that, I don't mean, well, no, I do mean if you're going to be a member of bar staff, be the best. Be the best at being a bar staff. If you're going to be a pot washer, be the best pot washer. If you're going to be a chef, be the best chef. Best cleaner, be the best cleaner. And what that means is that dedicating yourself to doing and learning and committing yourself every single moment of every single day to being the best at what you do. And I've always taken that attitude myself. Yeah. So in all of my venues and everything I've ever done, from my first job working in a florist and greengrocers, being the best at it. So being, doing the job, whatever task it was in front of me that I was given, to just practicing. You're not going to be the best,
Mm.
but it's the practicing and aspiring to be as good at that as possible.
Well, that's it. The goal's not perfection. It's improvement. It's building your skills.
Exactly. So the goal is improvement, and it's commitment.
Yeah.
So you commit to it because you want to constantly think. So for our staff, that's sort of saying, okay, so whilst you're being a member of bar staff, you're being the best at that. But when you're in your other life, which is being a student or whatever else you're doing, then you're going to be the best at that. So you're going to be the best student. You're going to be the best at it, whatever. So then coming to me and reflecting on it after, a long time running my own places and blah 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 blah, winning loads of awards, blah blah blah.
People can look those up. It's fine.
Yeah. But those things were achieved because I was driven to absolutely be the best at it. So when we first opened, my first place was a really tiny, I mean, it is 19 seats bar, tiny little bar. But it was all about being the best, and it was all about taking. So I'd had experience, working in Michelin star restaurants and working at the highest levels, and then bringing that into a small community bar and saying, yeah, but why would I save that level of service for Michelin star when we can be doing it here right now for our customers here and now? So it was driven to be the best and serving the best stuff. And if you're gonna, and this and you'll know this, it's sort of like when I've had a bar before and like everyone said, oh, we should serve cocktails. I said, no, we're not serving cocktails.
Yeah.
And I go, but why everyone will like cocktails? Because we're not going to be the best at it. Because I don't want us to be the best at it. Let's be the best at serving the best pint. Let's make the best gin and tonic. Let's even when you're just serving toasties behind the bar, but our toasties are the best. And that's like what you're saying about your cafe.
It's exactly like that. The perfection in those coffees.
Yeah.
So it's been a really nice fit for me because obviously my early experiences were with you at said bar, which I forgot was ever that small. I forgot it wasn't actually always twice the size. And then obviously going on, and Charlotte's the first time I've actually returned to sort of doing barista stuff and serving people and things like that. And she's just that quality and that wanting to give people the best, even if they don't realize it's the best. They're gonna, it's still going to be the best every time, and it's going to be consistent, even if half of them don't notice. That's not the point. It's who we are. It's what we do.
Yeah. So what was I saying about being best? Oh yeah, so I was driven to be the best, and I just got to a point, and I was sort of, I remember it was probably only about a year ago, I think, and I was just, and hospitality is difficult at the minute. And I mean, I say this over and over again, and this is the purpose of this podcast. It's basically, there is always a crisis in hospitality. And it's constant. It's one crisis after another. And I have to say that if I reflect on it, part of why I was driven to it as a career is because actually I thrive in that environment. I love problem solving. And I love every day being different and all of that. Yeah. But it was probably about a year ago, and just sort of, the general exhaustion of your day to day, which comes and goes. The industry is like that. Sometimes you are the one doing everything, and then you organise it so you're not the one doing everything. And it was probably about then, and I just almost had this sort of moment of just going, I'm not driven to be the best anymore. And then interestingly, and hopefully I'll get some of these people on this podcast as well. But interesting, I was talking to some other people in the industry, some of my other connections and people I know who are doing some really, really exciting things at the minute, like really innovative and just being new and fresh and young, but I'm talking to them and listening to their excitement about what they're doing, and just listening to them and going, yeah, this is so exciting, and then just going, oh yeah, no, I don't have that anymore.
No.
And it's a real And I just felt, oh, that's not me anymore, because I'm too, and I'm too prepared, and I don't really want to say this out loud, but it's true. I'm too prepared to cut the corners now.
Yeah.
I'm too prepared to say, I mean, and to be fair on me, I've got 4 kids as well. And I've spent however long, my eldest now's 21. So I spent the last 21, 22 years juggling all of that. And now I just feel actually, yeah, I'm not really driven to make my venue be the best anymore. And then I think it was that realization that made me say, okay, well, then this isn't really for me anymore. So I need to start looking at what else. And then, but the other side of that is I'm still massively passionate about the industry.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about what the whole industry, everything in hospitality, what we do, and what we provide for society and communities, and just on the one-to-ones and the relationships that people have, and in order for, on my view, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, is that, in order for people to have really good quality relationships with other human beings, which is pretty much quite an essential part of being human, they need places to conduct these relationships. And they can either do that in their home, which is hard work, because at home, as a mum, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a housemate, whatever. You have to tidy up after yourself and all of that. Or if you invite people in, you're the host, and so you've got a responsibility in the home. And then when you're at work, you've got another role to play. You're someone's employer, your supervisor, whatever it is. And so you never truly relaxed and yourself. And so you need places to go where you can just go, here we are, we're both here now, let's get ourselves our coffee or our pint or our gin and tonic or our bottle of Prosecco or cocktail, whatever it is, and we're just going to sit here, indulge ourselves in a way which is basically just by giving ourselves time, and we can have the relationship that actually we've been craving all of this time, but we've had all this responsibility at home or at work. And so I think that the role of hospitality is just absolutely essential. So and I love it for that, and I love the people in it, and the things that they do to create those spaces to basically spoil other people. Your employer, Bitsy, is creating those cakes, which are, to say, I daren't go because it's too much.
I will say they look sweeter than they are. They're very well balanced. So I was honestly, it was probably like, actually I was like obviously very impressed, but then at the same time I was like, oh, now this is a downward spiral, because they're not too sweet at all. They look sweet, they're not. They're perfect. And
I know you did give me one for my birthday, and it was like, all right, okay, I'll just have this little slice, because it was. I was thinking, and you go, oh no, that's too good. I just got to eat a bit more. Another slice. So I was eating it slice by slice.
But they are. You can slice them. You can spread them out a bit if you want, but also not go to Bitsy for treats. That's the whole point, isn't it?
The thing is that everything about hospitality is about spoiling people. We create environments for people to just come and relax, and we're there to treat them, and that's just so special and important. And so with me, I didn't want to be an operator anymore, but I did want to continue to support other people, because I think people are doing some amazing stuff. And I've got 30 years worth of experience plus a bit more, and stuff to share with people, and even if it's not for sharing, it's for, it's just like that thing of like, I've done this for so long, and I know how hard it is, and I know how lonely it is, and I know how you wake up in the morning, you're going, oh, I just can't do this, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you get, okay, I do know what I'm doing, but but you've got all of you're sort of very isolated in this industry, in that you're surrounded by plenty of other hospitality venues, but you're not really talking to each other particularly. Or if you are, people aren't really being honest. You know, you say, "Oh, how's business?" "Yeah, good. Yeah, good. You?" "Yeah, yeah, good." And you go, "Yeah, right. You're in hospitality. I'm in hospitality. We're both." When was your last power cut? When did your last member of staff walk out? You know, it was the reality is far more different. So in lockdown, I set up Kith and Kin, which was absolutely amazing. It was online forum for the hospitality industry, and all came together, and it was really interesting because it had loads of operators involved, and it just had employees in the industry, and then it had loads of suppliers from the industry, and loads of people just came together and chatted. And obviously at first it was mostly you know, how's it affecting you, how are you managing, all of that, what you're doing. And then it was just sharing of ideas. And it was, "Oh yeah, so we do this and we do this, and oh, I've got this thing on my menu, it's so cool, you should do this." And it was like, and I was sitting there just hosting it going, "This is amazing." People are sharing.
I know. Once they get started as well.
Sorry?
Once they get started and they get comfortable. Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of that power of building relationships and collaborating. And actually then I reflect back on my all of my experience, and you know, the most exciting things we've ever done. One is that a lot of what we do in hospitality is basically magpieing off each other in any case. So we're sort of, you know, I haven't been out to a cafe, a hotel, an event, a festival, a pub, a restaurant forever without going, okay, what are they doing here? How are they doing that? Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that member staff's doing that, are they? Oh, I see. And so you're always collecting information and going, oh, how can I use that? How can I use that? What can I do with that? How would that work in my venue? And my venue's completely different, but how could we do that? And would that work? And so, you know, so you're doing that anyway, but to be able to actually share ideas and say, well, this works because of this, and this didn't work, and we tried that, and it didn't work for me, but it probably worked for you, you know, those sort of things, you know. And so, so Kith and Kin was great in lockdown, but now I'm starting it all over again. But it's in Leicestershire based, face to face.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously anyone is welcome to come, but you know, Leicester might be a long way to come for some people.
But well worth it if they do want to.
Yeah, absolutely, because we're building a community of hospitality. So it's pretty much anybody in hospitality, from festivals, venues, events companies, suppliers to the industry, hotels, pubs, restaurants, cafes, street traders, all in one room, plus all of their employees, plus all of the apprentices. Because I keep saying to people, they're the future. They're the future of this industry. And it's brilliant, it's amazing professional development for them, you know, to actually be hearing the genuine conversations of what's going on in the industry. But also they're the ones that are actually feeding the enthusiasm and energy into the room. They're the ones going, oh, I love this is amazing. And I've had this idea. You know, when I opened my first place, I was 23 years old.
That's just meant, honestly, that still blows my mind.
Yeah, well, but you know, it's that youth that is the future, and I see people now opening places that, you know, I genuinely weren't born when I first started, but the you know, but they are developing ideas and coming up with brand new things, and it's fascinating. But then we've also got obviously suppliers to the whole industry in the room as well, and supporters, and those, hopefully through those conversations. And it's really informal. It's meant to be an informal event. It's come and have a coffee, chat to people, meet people. And then, I mean, we do put on a presentation as well. So we'll have like a speaker, but it's quite short and informal. And the idea is that's just inspiring ideas rather than anything else. But then alongside that, we've got things like this podcast and other stuff that goes across. Obviously, we use technology for and the internet for, so that we can keep sharing ideas with the industry. So the purpose of this podcast is to basically share some of that stuff with as many people as possible. And although obviously I say I've got 30 years worth of experience, which means 30 years worth of disasters to share with everybody. So the idea is it's not that so I've got a huge amount of success. I've got really massively successful venues. I've got over 25 awards for those venues across business and across the industry, covering pretty much everything from so fine dining restaurant right the way down to a community pub and cafe bar and a festival, but actually I just don't think that's an interesting story. I don't think, oh, look at me, here I am, I can open somewhere and I can make it successful is an interesting story, because that isn't what happens. That isn't how we do it. I mean, life isn't like that, and hospitality definitely isn't like that. It's about actually, here are the challenges, these are the things that the absolute disasters, and this is how we overcame them, and the learning that comes from that. So in the first instance, between you and I, we can discuss some of that, but then I'll be pulling in some of my hospitality friends who will be sharing probably very similar experiences, and hopefully that's a much more interesting way to find out about how this industry actually really works.
Absolutely. It was literally going to be, so all my questions I had written down here, you've answered. So the final one there was why the epic fails and not the smashing successes. But obviously, like you say, it's a more interesting story.
I don't think smashing successes are very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I you can come up with there's so many people who do amazing things in this industry, and there really are, and it is amazing. And it takes them 20 minutes to tell you how amazing that was. And you go, great, okay, yeah, so I'm brilliant. I'm all inspired by your amazingness. But actually, you scratch the surface. You could spend the next 4 hours listening to actually how it wasn't really amazing.
Yeah, but all the challenges they've overcome in the process and what they've learned. It's, if you're talking about it from that perspective, as you say, it's a longer conversation. It's a more interesting conversation. And, if you just look at the success, you don't see what they've overcome to get there either. And all those little things. So, but much more interesting story.
Oh no, but also, I mean, it's things like when you got Christmas coming up and just your function room floods and that's it out of action for 2 months. And then you've got to claim insurance, and it's like,
and sharing all that is obviously sharing that sort of experience. You're seeing how other people overcome it. You're not alone in it, and
but anyway, but also we do need to introduce you.
Oh, me? No, we don't.
so
I had to have my coffee. It's fine.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, you're actually my sister as well.
I am indeed. So I've known you a long time.
Surprising that.
Yeah.
But you started work. I was thinking about this the other day. So you started working for me. So you've got your own career. You do your own stuff, right?
But I keep coming back to you.
You've worked with me quite a few times, haven't you? So you started with me when you were 18, and then
I was cleaning for you before then.
Were you?
Yeah, I was cleaning the loos when I was 16. Thanks for that.
Oh, it's a good place to start.
It is, but it's all part of the bigger picture, isn't it? Somebody needs to clean the loos. Might as well be the best at it.
Yeah. And I can't remember you doing it, so I don't know if you were the best at it.
I was amazing. That's why you forgot I did it, because it was perfect every time.
And then, I remember you working behind the bar for me. And then what I also remember, which is awful, I can't believe I sacked you.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if you sacked me twice, but it was just the once.
I sacked you once, but do you remember what I sacked you for?
Because I didn't I go out the night before and not come into my shift?
Oh,
or do you have a different story?
I have a different story.
Maybe you sacked me twice.
Oh, maybe I did. Did you go out and not come in the next day? That's really naughty.
No, I was a little bit. Well, I mean, technically, yeah. But I am a reformed person now, obviously. I was very young.
No, my memory is that you were working for me when you were 18, and I sacked you because you wouldn't smile. And my thing was, right, that you were the owner's sister, and I was training my staff that they needed to smile at guests and be polite, and you basically refused to smile. And that after a while,
doesn't sound like me. Well, not me anymore.
It does, doesn't it? Not anymore.
But this is the thing. I realised the other day, obviously just having completed my degree, starting some new things and all of that there are going to be people who never knew me before who I am now. And I find that really weird, because I was talking to got some younger staff in the cafe, and I was sort of saying how just they amaze me because they're brilliant, and they talk really comfortably with adults, they talk really comfortably to each other, to customers, they're really on it, and you know, they're preempting what people need and they're totally on it. And I'm like, I was a mess of a human at your age. And they're like, oh, appearances can be deceptive. I'm like, no, seriously. Seriously, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. This took work.
I know, but what sort of boss am I that I sacked someone for not smiling? Anyway, I did chill out.
You were very young at the time too, though. That's you know, forget.
Fair enough.
It was different times.
Thank you. But then you went off and you went and worked for a bank, and you became an office manager for an MP.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah,
office stuff, and worked your way up.
There was the bank, there was business advice. So that was just started off with customer service, and then it went into the business team, and then went on to work for 2 MPs, and then came back to you.
Yeah. No,
you offered me you made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
I know.
I was working around children, and you were happy for me to manage my own time as long as the work got done, and yeah, got back into hospitality.
By that point, I had the Exchange, and we were just a city centre bar with 2 function rooms, which basically we just sort of said, we said to people, you can use them for free, but you know, we didn't say it had to be cool stuff, but it always was cool stuff. And all these events going on, and basically I needed somebody to come in and just take control of all of the bookings and all of that incoming customer service, rather than leave it to bar staff who were just sort of double booking and doing all sorts of you can do that, and you were like, no, you can't do that. So I needed somebody who was brilliant with spreadsheets, and could do the customer service and could be totally reliable. And you had young kids at the end at that time, so it was sort of like, and so like, therefore, and it was before people were doing work from home, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So now it's like work from home is pretty standard, but this was way before COVID, and there weren't work from home jobs.
No. And I said to you, I don't care as long as the job gets done.
Yeah.
And when it's meant to be honest, I mean, I don't think, but you know, it wouldn't have been done better by anybody, because you were just sort of like, Eve, I remember going on holiday with you, and you were like still doing emails to my customers, and I'm going, what are you doing? She goes, oh, well, this customer's just emailed, so I'm just responding. I'm going, you're on holiday. And you're going, yeah, but I'm just doing it. I'm getting it done. Like,
but it's one less thing to do when I get back.
So no wonder we had 5-star reviews for our customer service.
To be fair, obviously I would only do the essentials on holiday. I would scale back quite a lot, but if someone needs a response, we're all on the end of our phones now. It takes me 2 seconds. Why not? It's not going to ruin my day to respond to a nice customer and be friendly.
But this is the thing here with this like, so you know, so as it seems that I'm the hospitality expert, and you're my sister, but actually, because you've worked with me so closely, and even in that job, because that job ended up being multi-site, And although you were incoming customer service, it actually made you part of the senior leadership team.
Yeah.
Although you weren't necessarily dealing face to face with customers, well, you were doing people were meeting with you, but although you weren't, interacting necessarily on that face to face, you were sort of separate to the rest of the management team and the normal structure. You actually were really involved in absolutely everything that was going on and knew everything that was going on at the same time as, because you're my sister, you're the person I came and moaned to.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, actually, that was another, and I do cite this as another epic fail of mine, is that the thing I've brought this up loads of times where I really got something wrong, and that was actually our relationship, because I really often crossed over the boundaries and the lines there. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like, so I remember coming, we'd be at work and you'd be doing work. And then we'd go into a room and I would come in and I'd go, oh, blah, 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 because I'm a ranter, you're a ranter, we rant, we go, blah, when we're, not stressed, but when we're just sort of processing stuff. And I would come in and rant at you, right? And then I would go, right, okay, I feel better now. And off I'd pop. But actually you'd be sitting there going, oh, shit, has everything gone to shit? Is this bad? Is this whatever? And I remember you getting really stressed about my reaction to stuff that was going on at work, whereas in actual fact I was like going, I don't understand what you're talking about because everything's fine.
I think obviously that's something that's developed with us. When we were at the exchange, I found that very difficult. I was very much, every time you came to me with anything, I was like, right, how can I solve all her problems? Her problems are all now my problems. I need to fix them all, even though I don't know anything about what's going on. And it's essentially none of my business anyway. She's just ranting. But now, I think through that period of COVID, doing my degree, all of that, and lots of changes, I think now I'm just very much sort of, okay, I can hear you. It's fine. It's your thing. I'm here to listen. It's all good. And so I think that now wouldn't be a problem and hasn't been a problem. But at the time, I did find it very difficult. And it was just this need to want to solve all of your problems. But that was the way I dealt with everybody. I remember going in and there was a member of our staff talking about problems they were having with Photoshop. And I was like, right, how can I fix this for you? I've never used Photoshop, but I must fix this for you. And that was also my attitude towards customers as well, and everything. I just wanted to make people's problems go away. But obviously, quite a lot of learning and growth since then. And actually, people's problems are their problems, and I can support them through them, but I can't fix them for them. So yeah, as I say, now it's much easier, and you're welcome to rant at me as much as you like. But yeah, it was a learning process.
It was quite an important learning process for me as well, though, because it sort of demonstrated, because I was crossing over the line with you being an employee on the one hand, with a set of, and me as an employer giving you a set of tasks and giving you a set of expectations to complete those tasks, and then holding you account to those for those expectations, and at the same time then crossing the line without a clear like, oh now I'm not talking to you like that, I'm talking to you, and just really blurry.
So I'm going, okay, am I meant to be taking notes here and doing things? Am I meant to, is this work? Is this just what? Yeah. And then afterwards going, was that it? Am I meant to be taking actions? What's going on?
It really made me think about how those relationships with my senior management in particular, and actually where those boundaries are, and knowing and really understanding how precarious it is to cross those boundaries, and being extremely careful about it. And so it made it really, really clear to me about that. But I mean, but going back to the purpose of this podcast, even or the purpose of Kith and Kin, it sort of really reflects on that again, of how lonely it is.
I was going to say, if you've got people outside of the business that understand what's happened, what it feels like, what you're going through, and you've got them to talk to, then you're not going to need to, let that out with, your team in the workplace. You've got other people who understand what's going on. Which you say at that time, those networks didn't exist, and obviously that's what you're building here. And
because it's this understanding that you really can't, that you just can't afford to can't afford to take it out on your team. End of, that's given. But you can't really afford to, I say I'm a ranter. I rant because it helps me process, and it helps me go, blah, 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 and actually, even when it's not really, in fact, actually, even more likely when it's not an issue, it becomes a rant. It's just like venting frustrations.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with your own team, because you've got, particularly if you're the boss, you've got a responsibility to lead, and that leadership requires your strength, and it requires your resilience, and it requires you to maintain that. I mean, it does. There's a lot to be said for demonstrating vulnerability within that role, but that needs to be done carefully. It can't just be done very sort of like, right, I've had enough now. That's me done. Because the problem is, and this is the case, I the use of language maybe not so much, but really, you're inciting fear in other people. You're making them scared or worried or uncertain, and that's not conducive to people being happy in their work. Full stop.
And obviously the thing with hospitality is that, like you say, there is one challenge after another. So there is always a challenge, and as the leader of that team, you want people to feel like those challenges we can overcome this, it's fine, which doesn't really come across when you're having a very frustrated rant.
Particularly if you start ranting about other members of staff.
Yeah.
And that's, because inevitably people wind you up anyway. But it's hard, because you also don't want to go home and be doing it at home either. So this is,
also potentially, unless you live in a household where, you have people who have experienced the challenge of the hospitality, you're not necessarily going to have that understanding there. So, as I say, having this community will obviously be a massive benefit in that way.
I hope so. Yeah. So this is my new job. So we go back to what's my new job? My job is for people to come and rant at me about how difficult everything is, so I can remind them that they love it really.
Yeah.
And it is great, and that's part of it, and that they know that anyway.
Yeah.
So my business is closed, and so you went and done a brilliant job working for a charity, didn't you?
Yes. So that was amazing, working for Leicester Education Business Company, doing data for the NCS programme. So all the young people, the 16-year-olds going off on the NCS programme, my job was to make sure we had all their information. Everything was all in order and all nice and neat and tidy, so everybody knew what was going on. And so I processed all the data, but then I ended up being the person who did all the risk assessments as well. So I would be the person on the end of the phone, phoning up the parents, having a chat with them for 45 minutes about their kids with extra needs and needed a bit of extra support, and finding out what those needs were, what we needed to do, doing like essays on a risk assessment to make sure everyone had the information they had. But at the same time, you were talking about transferable skills earlier. It's employing those communication skills, and that anticipating people's needs and just being nice and kind and all those things. And it's all of the skills I use now the foundations of that started with my first jobs with you. And obviously I've built those skills, but ultimately it's all pretty much the same thing. It's been nice, being friendly, being considerate, trying to just help people out a bit, make their day a little bit better, and that's essentially what I've been doing and what I continue to do. Just try and be nice to people.
Then I came and poached you again, didn't I? Because
you did.
Then I opened the Gate Hangs Well, and it's a pub and different to the Exchange, which was a city centre bar. but nonetheless, we still had incoming customer inquiries, and I just wanted that systemized.
Yeah.
And at the time, you were doing your degree. So I'm just gonna, you're my sister, and I'm just gonna tell everybody that you were doing. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry, but it's important.
Yeah.
You had 2 young kids, a job, and studying for a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And then you have just graduated with a first, and I am really proud of you. And I know I just think you're absolutely amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing. But going back to the story, I needed you.
But I also needed flexibility for my final year, which turned out to be absolute chaos.
Yeah, so I needed you to come and set up all the systems that you'd done before, without me having to think about it particularly. And so I went and poached you again and said, hey, come and work for me again. And you came and worked with me at the Gatehome as well. So pretty much have you worked at every single one of my venues?
Possibly.
Were you working at the Entropy restaurant when I had the restaurant? You were working at the bar then?
I was working at the bar when you had the restaurant, yeah. Because I remember my now husband, was working in the kitchen at the bar when you opened the restaurant. So I was still there. I did leave a little bit afterwards because I decided if I was going to take my relationship with him seriously, I probably shouldn't work with him because hospitality, stressful, me looking after the bar, him looking after the kitchen. Yeah, didn't want to be taking that, well, not so much taking work tension home, more home tension to work, I guess. But yeah.
Well, that's very good of you. Thank you. Because
I'm pretty sure you said if you had to make a choice, I should know who you choose.
Oh,
and it would be the head chef.
Oh God, I was awful. I'm so sorry. But no, but I'm right.
You were right, and you were honest, and but also in terms of us and my relationship with him, he's a chef.
Yeah.
I was someone who just really likes working with people. I can take that somewhere else. You know, obviously I learned so much there and really enjoyed it, but ultimately I can go and work with people somewhere else. He's a chef. He wants to be in his kitchen and king of his kingdom and all of that. And so
and at the time, I will say, in the best restaurant in Leicester.
Yes, absolutely. So it was the right thing to do eventually. But yeah, so that was the only reason I left, Cass.
Okay.
The only reason I left Entropy was because I ended up marrying the head chef.
Oh well, that's fair enough. I'll give you that. You can have that one.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the time I left, not the time I was sacked.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Anyway, well, I think we've covered.
Yeah.
We've covered our introduction.
What next?
Well, what next? You could come up with something to ask me about some awful experience. No, they're not awful experiences. They're just not. I mean, there's lots.
They're challenges.
Lots of but there's just lots of things, and actually, some of the things that have gone wrong have been the most interesting things. And actually, when I look back, actually, the bits that I go, oh yeah, that was quite cool, quite funny.
So they can be a catalyst as well for change and development and all of that. So let's go through a few of them and find out what happened and where they led to.
I look forward to it.
Excellent.
So I'll see you next time.
Indeed. Bye.